I mostly read public domain books here on Glenn Reads Books to You, and they were written a long time ago, so they're usually racist, or sexist, or bigoted, but in there somewhere is a story, and that's why those stories are famous. Other times, I read works from independent authors, and they're delightfully not racist, but they might have adult language or adult situations, like, making sex. So that's your warning, but I'm sure you're grown up enough to handle it. Don't write to me complaining.
Oh, my God, these last few days.
Mother of pearl. Oh, for God's sakes. All right, fine. Take a seat, you little idiot. Welcome to the Glenn Reads Books to You mansion. It's a fun little bit where I pretend to live in a mansion and not just recording in my basement. So I read the hottest public domain books and short stories. This week, we'll continue reading and hopefully finishing the last 3 chapters of Hellflower by George O. Smith. You want to learn a little bit about the author? Nothing means anything anymore. George O. Smith, born April 9th, 1911, died May 27th, 1981, was an American science fiction author. Smith was an active contributor to astounding science fiction during the golden age of science fiction of the 1940s. His collaboration with the magazine's editor John W. Campbell Jr., so glad this last time I had to read this, was interrupted when Campbell's first wife, Donna, left him in 1949 and married Smith. And that's kind of all you need to know about this guy. He was a piece of shit, and he wrote a book about drugging women, and he writes about women horribly, and he's not a great writer, and he's a piece of shit. I can't wait to be done with this book. Do I have anything else to talk about? No. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I want to take time to appreciate that I don't live in a country where anything bad could ever happen. I don't live in some kind of Orwellian nightmare or Brave New Worldish nightmare at all. Everything's fine. I don't have to worry about hundreds and thousands of people being deported because of ICE or anything. I don't have to worry about that. It's not that I happen to know people that something like that might happen to, but I guess I never have to worry about them because I've chosen to believe that everything's fine. My kids, my LGBTQ kids, one of them who's taking pills, don't have to worry about them. It's fine. Nothing's a problem. Do I have to worry about anyone being released from prison that is weird and shady and gross, like the guy that built the Silk Road on the dark web, who I was running guns and social security numbers and I think possibly trafficking kids and along with drugs and everything else? Do I have to worry about that person ever being released from prison? No. Never. And I never have to worry about anything embarrassing that makes me look bad if I ever travel into another country outside of my own. Like that anyone might point at me and laugh and say, "Ha, you're so stupid you tried to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America," as if it's the freedom fries mentality from the 2000s carrying over to an actual body of water or Gulf. Whatever. No, I never have to be embarrassed because everything is fine. I'm totally happy that Democrats and stuff are coming out saying, never give up. If you start getting down on yourself, you're not helping anyone. Also, I will not provide a single solution, and please give me money. Doesn't bother me at all because I'm not worried about it because that's not happening. Everything is fine. I've had to do this 9 times, and this is the best one I can come up with where I'm not just yelling. This is the good take. Okay, well, thank God for the grandfather clock telling me to shut up, and let's go down to the library and try to finish reading this book. All right, sit down. I'm not in any mood, so I don't want to hear anything out of you. We're just going to plow through these 3 chapters, and I can put this stupid book behind me, and then try to do things that I think is fun with the damn show. Chapter 21. We'll not repeat, said Faradine. Norma, hike below and see that our visitors stay taped in their chairs. Oh, that's right. There's a tape-based technology. It's been a while since I've read. I'm going to land this crate without interference. Norma nodded and went down to the salon. Well, they're still secure, she reported over the intercom. Faraday replied, aye, firm, and then made his first ranging radar contact with Terra. He set his declaration drive accordingly, and the integrator needle crept over to the center scale 0, informing Faraday that zero separation from the surface of the spaceport would result in zero velocity of the Lancaster. Then Faraday fired up the radio and called, Washington Tower, this is Lancaster 81 requesting landing instructions, registry 683, Faraday plotting, piloting, whatever, I don't care. Tower to 683, take beacon 9 at 22,000, landing area 5, traffic 00, but 8 Space Guard cutters are on formation on 60,000. The voice changed in tone slightly. Space Guard, code Watchhug, calling Watchhug. Watchhug to Tower, go ahead. Tower, Watchhug, we are away from... I don't care about any of this. Why don't we just skip to the last chapter? There we go, chapter 23. Faraday looked down at the white face, almost as pale as the hospital sheets. Norma looked up at him, her face wan and her smile weak but genuine. He reached down and pressed her hand gently. Relax, Norma, it's all over and done with. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure. Dr. Fawcett told me this morning that you were obviously on your way to a cure. I'm feeling fine, she said. I'm weak, but I do feel better. This is just from the strain. I held my nerves together too long and it left me sort of washed out, but I'll be all right. Oh, you've got to be, he said seriously. This is all too good to miss. What happened, Charles? You talk, I'm sure. Well, you never saw so much gold braid and striped trousers a space before in your life. What? After I set the Lancaster down at Terre Haute, they came aboard and set on the two of the guys for hostages against my Terre Haute. 2 guys for hostages gets my return. Oh, wow, good. The Kindle's messing up again. My return. A bunch of us went to Lyra 357 with Carolyn as interpreter. We made him cough up Clevis and about 100 other bright guys who had been too smart for him. They, the gold braid and the striped trouser set, moved in and they've been conferring ever since. Seems as how I guessed right. Both sides seem to think that there's been enough strife and that there's more to be gained by pooling our efforts. Anyways, it's out of my hands now, and I'm just a spaceman again. Faraday took a deep breath and chuckled. I've my license back, clear and honest. There's nothing too good for Faraday, former bona fide loss. I've also got enough interstellar shipping contracts to set me up in rare style. Within a year, I'll own a whole fleet, and then I can retire and pay someone else to go a-spacin'. Does that sound good, honey? Oh, he's calling her honey. Norma looked up at him out of soft eyes. Is this a proposal of marriage? In the first degree, he said. Norma pulled him down and gave him her lips. Oh, they were soft and warm and pleasantly affectionate, as they had been on the road in Wisconsin. Then she let him go, and he stood up. He saw her eyes fill with tears. Norma, he said, Charles, it wouldn't work. But, she smiled gently. It's not that, Charles, she said slowly. I'm not thinking about Frank and the years I hate. Since then, I've come to know you and admire you. But, you see, I don't really love you, Charles. He saw something in her eyes and understood. He hoped she would not get involved in a long discussion, and to forestall it, he asked, It's Howard? She nodded. I loved him before, Frank. Her eyes glowed a bit. They were dry again. Howard is a strong man, Charles. He used Frank, and then he used me, and then he used you. And the Hellflowers took Frank, and they took me from Howard, and finally took Howard, too. But you brought them all back. But Frank, to me, Charles, I've got... He bent down and stopped the flow of words from her lips. Be happy, baby, he said against her cheek. I'll finish it all up in fine style. Faraday left the room quickly. In a corridor, he paused long enough to shake the growing vacuum away, and then he went down the waiting room. Howard, she's awake and feeling fine, although she's still weak as a kitten. A bit of a sight and touch of you would work wonders, Howard. She wants you. Cletus got up and gripped Faraday's hand hard. You're quite a guy, Charles, he said. I want to be a second-best man, Howard. Any damn day of the week, replied Clevis. He left, and Faraday was alone. Faraday sat down and lit a cigarette. He blew smoke in his toes and wondered at himself. He should have been feeling despondent. Instead, he felt a peculiarly satisfying glow of contentment. He could win everything. Somehow this single loss, it was meant to be, and it was right that he should have Norma. And then the plume of smoke curled around a pair of slender ankles, and Faraday realized that his loss of Norma was not a loss at all. The slight vacuum filled full as Faraday knew that this his last piece of unfinished business was. The waiting room resounded with a gentle musical chord. It was operatic in quality, angel, hoyden, and devil singing bacchanal. He smiled and looked up at her. Any damn day in the week, he promised, getting to his feet. Against his face, Carolyn laughed softly. But you can't even pronounce my name. I'll get along, he said. We'll figure out something. Arm in arm, they went out into the bright sunshine. Okay, well, that's the end of that story. I'm glad I skipped over everything. I did pause the recording, which I don't do very often, just to make sure I'm not missing anything big. We really didn't miss anything big. This book just sucks. So why don't we go down to the smoking room and review what the hell we just read. Well, there you go. Why don't you take a seat? And there in front of you on the coffee table, you'll find a baboon skull. And if you open the top of that baboon skull, you'll find a bunch of cigarettes. Those are my wife's birds. This book dabbled. The premise is drugging and assaulting women. Basically, that's the premise. Then our main character, he is accidentally killed a bunch of people. And then he's not able to fly a ship anymore, a space or whatever. So he's not able to do that anymore. And then he gets his redemption by pretending to be a drug runner to assault women. And that way to lure in the actual people that sell the flower, the drug, to assault women. And so I'm like, okay, this is getting bad. The way he talks about women is classic 1950s, like you're just an object. You got legs that won't quit. Look at those getaway sticks, things like that. So I was like, oh, God, this is not going in a good direction. And I'm like, any moment he's going to take advantage of a drugged woman, and I'm going to stop reading this book. I guess, unfortunately for me, that never happened, which you'd think would be fortunate, but no, the book just sucks. He's a bad writer. He writes about the worst things in extreme detail, page after page after page, about like a really boring fight or something. It's just like he just drags on forever. And I hated the book. I hated reading it. I hated having to go through long periods of him like trying to flirt with a woman, and it doesn't mean anything, and it's corny, and it's like not even funny to laugh at. It's just bad. And then it's like the fear, the constant fear that some woman's going to get drugged with a flower, and then I have to like begin reading about some assault. But luckily that never happened. The guy really close in the end, though, when a woman got trapped in a room full of them, and then he's alone with her. But in the end, the drug people got caught. He gets to not only fly again, but he gets to like maybe run his own fleet someday. I don't know. Then he kind of gets a woman in the end, but it's not the woman he I don't care. None of it meant anything. The entire story we went through didn't mean anything. You can't even say it's like a good sci-fi action, and it's at least good for that. No, it wasn't even good for that. Okay, well, with that, I guess I'll go back to trying to avoid reading the news, because, oh my God, my rage levels. Oh, my rage levels. This podcast could have easily spent this entire episode being some sort of political rant podcast, which I refuse to do. So, but boy, am I angry. Well, have yourself a good week, and I'll be back later. Well, it appears you found me in the part of the podcast I hate the most, where I tell you all about the places on the internet where you can find me. You can tell I hate this because of the sound effects making it sound like a stormy night in the drawing room of the damned. Now, are you cool? I like cool people. It's the reason why I got involved in this business to begin with, just to meet cool people, not losers. So if you're cool, feel free to go over to my website, nuzzlehouse.com. But if you go there, you get to hear some of the other stuff that I and my wife work on, like the Radio Mystery Theater show, where we try to recreate the same show that used to be on in the 70s, but they don't make any episodes anymore. So we make our own, and we just steal all their commercials. And also, just in the curious mind, we made a Christmas album. If you go to our link tree, you can see that we made a Christmas album. It's the first thing we did after getting married, which I think everyone should do when they get married, is start talking about the Christmas album they're going to make. And since I think you might be cool, you can always just email me directly. glenn.nuzzles@gmail.com. But don't email if you're a nerdlinger or a dork. Now, back to business. I can't believe I drank all of them already. There's got to be one left.